Hi, I'm Mike Bloxam. I'm the fresh food coordinator at the London Food Bank, and we're here in the Adopt a Plot Gardens this afternoon. Um, I got my start here at the London Food Bank about 24 years ago. I started off as a volunteer in high school, and then kept on volunteering every year after that. And about I guess it was March of 2016, I came on staff to manage the fresh food aspect, mostly dealing with gardeners and farmers and grocery stores. And then we had all this land back here that wasn't being used, so we decided to try our hand at gardening it ourselves. The previous year, they had built 4 raised beds, and at the end of 2016, we added 3 more, and then the next year we added some more, and now we're up to 14 raised beds here that are beside our parking lot, and that's all part of our Adopt a Plot program now. Well, we came to this property on Leithorn Street in 2005, and it had been an industrial building, and obviously the warehousing aspect is what was the big attraction. However, the property out here was just kind of a disused meadow. There were a lot of weed trees and a lot of wildflowers, and great for insect and animal habitat. But for the longest time, we said, why don't we grow food here? We're a food bank. We should grow our own local food. And eventually we had the capacity to start doing that, and we cleared some of the land, put in the raised beds. And then we just kept clearing more and more land. And we had a fantastic group of people in 2019 who were gardening back here. And that year they it's still our record, 2,000 pounds of food grown on our property back here. There were 2 team leaders who were they were basically here 7 days a week. And we provided them with lots of volunteers to help do the planting, the cultivating, and that, of course, the following year, 2020, is when the pandemic started. And the ideas for the greenhouse had just started before the pandemic, which, of course, became our pandemic project. But in order to make room for the greenhouse, we had to kind of move all of our plants out into this area, which worked out well, actually, because after the whole property was graded and we had nice drainage, it was flat again, whereas before it was quite hilly, and there was a berm that was just kind of in the middle of our future plans, and plus all the Manitoba maples and buckthorn and all the nasty trees that we really don't want growing near a garden were all removed. So now we have this paradise of flat land where we can do various degrees of raised beds. Because the existing soil is kind of a sandy clay mixture, which isn't really good for growing. So we've done a lot of supplementing of the soil here. We have a fantastic team inside Team Tomato who have quite a large plot now, that all their stuff is grown in shallow raised beds, and they've been doing great work experimenting with some soil. We've got a tater team who's growing stuff in pots, so pails, potatoes in pails, and of course out here the Adopt a Plot, we have 14 raised beds, including along the fence. We've got stuff growing along the fence, and it's a total of 7 teams out here who have been each taking care of their own plots. They planted the original plants. They come and water and weed, and then when stuff's ready to harvest, they're out here with their baskets, picking it and then bringing it into the food bank. So we're now in our 3rd year of the Adopt a Plot program. Every spring we send out a call for interested volunteers to let us know if they want to come and take care of a plot for the season. Many of our people this year are returnees who've been with us since the very first year. And then we have some people who are brand new this year. Their experience ranges from beginner, just want to come here and learn how to do some gardening, right up to experts who've been gardening for many, many years. And then we try to match people up. So if we have individuals who are interested but don't have a team, we kind of put them all together and say, okay, these are your mentors. These are the people who'd like to learn. please work together. And of course, we're always here as a resource too. We don't just say, here's your plot, off you go. We're here to help in any way. But we've got, the teams are usually somewhere between 6 to 8 people, but it's really dependent on how much you want to take on. So we want to make sure as well, during the summer, a lot of people take vacation. We want to make sure that the whole team won't be all on vacation at once, just so we're making sure things are taken care of. But worst case, all they have to do is let us know that they'll be gone for a week or 2 weeks or whatever. And then we have staff and volunteers here who can take care of it as long as we know. But yeah, that's right. Yeah, traditionally food banks were non-perishable. So you had your dry goods and your canned goods, and that was it. And for the longest time, that's the way we operated as well. That was just the way of things. And eventually we started getting milk donated on a regular basis. And then our board decided, why don't we purchase milk for the weeks when we don't have donations? So milk became a standard. Eggs were very few and far between, but now we always have a supply of eggs. And as we started expanding our community harvest program, which is dealing directly with farmers who have excess produce, we started reaching out to more and more farmers in the area. And I'm just trying to remember what the numbers are. I think last year, 2022, was about 400,000 pounds of produce from farmers, and about another 400,000 pounds through our other channels. So that's primarily grocery stores through our community refresh program, but also people who have extra produce in their gardens, who will just bring it in, and other food producers who have produce available will donate to us. Absolutely, yeah. We've had the Plant a Row, Grow a Row program. I think community activists started that in about 2012, and then in 2016, when I came across them, they said, "Well, we're too busy. We can't organize it anymore." We said, "Well, would it be okay if we organized it?" And they said, "Sure, by all means." So since 2016, we've been organizing the Plant a Row, Grow a Row. So the idea there is you plant your vegetables at home. We can even give you seeds, and then as they start to come in, if you have too much from your bounty, you bring it in, harvest it, bring it into the food bank. You can do this either through seeds or plants that we've given you, or through your own seeds or plants. We don't really discriminate, but if you've signed up and said, I want to be part of Plant a Row, Grow a Row, then just bring your stuff on in, and we keep track of that as well. So we have a great team of volunteers who sort all the produce that comes in from the grocery stores. They sort it based on kind of the quality and the category. So we try to group everything together, because what happens at the front now, ever since the pandemic began, we've been packaging our produce. In the past, we used to have the produce out on a shelf, and we would say you can take up to 1 bag worth of produce for your family. That way people could pick and choose. However, when we couldn't allow so many people in the building, we started packaging all the produce hampers so they would be roughly the same, based on the size of the family, so that smaller families get a certain amount and larger families get more based on how many people are in the household. So after it's all been sorted, of course, there will be some that's not good. Remarkably, only about 4 to 5% of our produce donations ends up being compost. So, and all of that stuff we compost here on site. So we have Captain Compost, Mr. Mike Whelan, has been doing this for about 3 years now, and he's been building us these compost bins. We put the produce in there. He tops it up with browns to make sure there's no smell and make sure stuff breaks down properly. And then when the bin is full and after it's done its composting for a bit, he sifts it all out, and we have the black gold of the rich compost that comes out, and anything that's in there like produce stickers or zip ties or whatever is on the produce when it goes in. We try to remove all that, but sometimes we miss it. That gets filtered out, we can dispose of it. But it actually is quite remarkable that we use 95% of what comes in. Well, we've had 3 very successful plantings with our friends at Reforest London. Our very first one is the fruit forest way behind us here. On the other side of the fence, in the fall of 2017, we planted 20 fruit trees to kind of get a start on a food forest. 2018, we did 8 more trees. And then 2022, yeah, it was, yes, 2022, last fall, we planted, we did an interplanting back here with our fruit trees and added some more varieties and species. But at the same time, we realized there was kind of barren parts still on the property that was just kind of grass, and even the grass didn't grow very well. So we thought we would do some landscaping trees, and we did some trees and shrubs around the parking lot, and we planted some larger stock out front, primarily because we lost a couple trees, Norway maples that were sick, so they were removed, and we noticed an impact, especially in the summer, on clients who are now having to wait outside to come in. There's not as much shade. So we wanted to really get some nice, fast-growing maples closer to the front, so that we would be able to provide that shade. But we also have the side of the building that's just it's a driveway for our neighbor, and for us, it was just like I said, barren scrub land. So we planted a wide variety of trees there that will help when they grow larger. They will shade the building in the summer, reduce our cooling costs, but then they will be leafless in the winter, so we'll still be able to absorb that winter heat and save on our heating costs. So not only are we trying to beautify the property, we're also trying to improve our cost of heating and cooling the building. Well, we have great relationships with our many suppliers. A lot of the farmers are in the London area, in Middlesex County, Essex County, and they donate to us on a regular basis. We've also got grocery stores, a lot of grocery stores right here in town who donate regularly to us. For example, the 2 Real Canadian Superstores, we pick up twice a week from them, and that's where a lot of our baseline produce comes from, is from those 2 stores. So we really value our partnership with those 2 stores in particular. But there are many other stores that we pick up other fresh product from. We get bread and dairy products and meat from a lot of the Metro stores and the Food Basics and Costco. So there's a really good relationship with all these stores, and it's fantastic to see that people want to actually participate in the programs and make sure that they're diverting their food waste to people who really need it. Try Recycling in the City of London are really the drivers behind Compost Value Day. They've been partnering with us since long before I started at the food bank. So having that relationship and then being able to share that with the Boys and Girls Club it's really a good time of year to be selling compost. And one of our new teams this year they took on these 3 beds here. It's a team from Carfax, and they've been out. I've seen them out here every day taking care of their plants, and they've got some. I just want to focus on this beautiful cauliflower. I've never seen such a nice cauliflower in someone's garden. They're doing some square foot gardening down there, and they've as you can see, some of their stuff they've already harvested, and they've got room to maybe start an August crop. And one little carrot left in there. And over here we have our Easy Growing team. They've been with us since 2020. Some of the original members still with us. They've got some beautiful tomatoes ready for the picking, and they do a wide variety. They've got such great looking produce here. They've got some lovely lettuce in this bed over here. And if I can explain the windmills, the pinwheels. So we had a problem with deer 2 years ago and last year where they would come along and they ate all the chard, all the kale, just right down to the nubs. Luckily, those sorts of things grow back. But we looked online to see some advice on how to keep deer away, and one of the suggestions was put pinwheels in your garden because they don't like the movement. And this year it's worked. We haven't had any deer damage, so hooray. But we did a little bit of research on that as well. So the very bottom layer, we did wood chips, wood mulch, logs. And then we did kind of a middle of compost, and then we did a topping of topsoil when we first put them in. And then each year we just keep topping it up with more and more compost to keep the soil nice and fertile. They were up to around here. So yeah, it's been sinking, but that's okay because we just keep adding new compost every spring. So when especially the last couple of weeks, we've had a lot of produce donated by the superstore. So we've been out here twice a week, putting the compost, the unusable produce here in the bins. And as I mentioned before, that we top it up with some browns, either with leaves or with some other finished compost, just to make sure that we don't have a volunteer from home has brought their stuff and dumped it in here. So I'll top that up when we're done, just to keep the bees away. But but we do encourage our volunteers, especially the ones who live in apartments and don't have a way to get rid of their organics. They're allowed to bring them here and put them in the compost. So yeah, so this is all Mike Whelan. He's the one who keeps this all going, and we're so lucky to have him, because he keeps this operation moving. In 2017 we planted 20 fruit trees. We've added at least another 15 in the following 2 plantings. But we've had some die off, unfortunately. That's the nature of planting trees. Sometimes they don't all survive. But the tree I really want to highlight is this peach tree that we planted in the fall of 2021. It's got about a dozen peaches on it, and I think it's ready to harvest. This will be our very first fruit harvested from the fruit orchard back here. And we thought for sure it would be 10 years before we got anything. So the fact that it's this one only not even 2 years in the ground here and has put on all this fruit. Yeah, the other tree did have fruit, but I think the squirrels got to it first. It didn't get as ripe as this one. So maybe the human traffic here keeps them away. But yeah, we'll look into maybe better ways to keep the squirrels away next year. Okay. Well, this was part of our original fruit orchard that we planted. When we put up the greenhouse, we installed a fence, so that kind of segregated the orchard into 2 parts. But the trees over here are primarily pawpaws, which is the largest native fruit tree in the Carolinian life zone. So we haven't had any fruit just yet. I was lucky enough to get some on my trees at home this year. I have 2 trees at home, yeah. So you need 2 for the pawpaws to cross-pollinate. They won't produce fruit unless there's at least 2. So we're hoping maybe next year. I did see the green bottlefly, which does the pollination on one of the trees in the spring, but we haven't seen any fruit. However, so over here we're kind of envisioning this will be a pawpaw grove eventually. So they do tend to grow in stands, which is what helps them with their pollination and their fruit production. So we've got 6 babies that are under these built crates for protection from being crushed by snow and by, human foot, but also to keep them from getting nibbled on by the little critters in the wintertime. But we've also got 2 Royal Gala apples over here, and one of them does have fruit on it this year. So we wanted easier access to the trees back here. So a group of volunteers did this earlier this summer. Yeah, this poor tree is so heavy with its fruit that it can't stand upright. So um, it grew. These two Royal Gallas were planted in the fall of 2021. I was wrong before. The ones we interplanted out there were the fall of 2022. So that peach tree is in its very first season and it's born fruit. So I need to correct myself. I got my timelines mixed up.
Look at this guy.
Yeah.
I'm not an orchard guide. I did
Yeah.
took the course on how to prune these guys. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Because you can tell there is like maybe these leaves don't have to be there.
Yeah, I think this one needs some work. We'll let the fruit come on, but I think we're gonna have some nice apples to go along with the peaches at some point this year. This year, the weeds kind of got away from us a bit. We're hoping to do more wildflowers here so that we have pollinator attractors that will help pollinate the garden, help pollinate the trees. The raspberry patch here has also exploded in population this year. We started off with 20 plants, I think, 2 years ago, and we didn't pick from them. We wanted the seeds to spread. So and they have. we were successful. So we were thinking we would want to thin this out a bit, pot some up, and maybe extend the rows in one direction or the other. And maybe next year or the year after, we'll have some raspberries to harvest as well. But this was all, the plants were just donated by somebody who came to us. He had them in the back of his truck. He said, "You want some raspberry plants?" We just had some topsoil dropped off by Try Recycling that day. So we had some nice soil to put in the ground. Destiny, exactly. Well, in 2020, I tried it at home, and we did some here as well. It was just something new to try. What really happened was we got donated a whole bunch of seed potatoes. So we offered them out, and there were a few agencies who took them, a couple churches. Actually, I think the one church grew them in garbage cans. They had, big, tall garbage cans, and I think they had a great yield. But one of the grocery stores donated to us a bunch of seed potatoes. So we had all these seed potatoes, and we said, well, how are we going to grow them? And with some research, we found that these pails are an excellent size to grow potatoes in. So you just fill it up with about 4 inches of soil, put your potato seeds in, add another 6 inches of soil, and I can actually pull the straw back. So that's the height we get up to with the soil. And once the potatoes have grown up to about within 2 inches of the top, you fill that all with soil, top it off with straw, and then that keeps the UV out, keeps the moisture in, and allows the plant to continue growing. And then at the end of the season, instead of digging up through your hill or whatever, trying to find all your potatoes, you know where the potatoes are. They're in the pail. So we just dump everything out, sift the soil, and then we got our potato harvest. Well, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. When I first started here, we were seeing somewhere between 3,200 to 3,600 families a month. A month. 32 to 3,600 a month. And then in 2020, because there was so much financial support, we saw a drop down to about 28 to 3,000. And ever since those supports have stopped, we've been steadily climbing. So we were kind of going along like this. We dropped down in 2020, and since 2021, we've been kind of on an upward slope, to the point that we're now on the normal, seeing over 5,000 families a month. So, close to double. And we hit a new record this past Tuesday in a single day of 352 families here at the London Food Bank. So it's not good numbers we're seeing. The silver lining is donations are keeping up with that demand. So our partners who donate produce to us and other perishables have really, really helped us get through these times. For example, AgriPure gave us tens of thousands of liters of milk in June, which was a month when we were seeing numbers that, we were over 5,700 families in June. So that saved us on having to purchase a lot of milk that month, but we were also able to share with a lot of other agencies. So because of the generosity of our corporate partners, farmers, and everyone else who donates to the food bank, down to the person bringing in 5 pounds of stuff from their garden. It all comes together so that we can help the folks who visit the London Food Bank, but we also support more than 35 other agencies, both within the city and in the surrounding communities. So we share our produce donations. If we have an excess of one certain thing, we'll share as far as Godrich, St. Thomas, Stratford. And if we have a large quantity, such as we've had a farmer in Embro who's donated broccoli and cabbage, he wanted to give us 15 skids each time. And we said, well, okay, we can take one. So we reached out to Feed Ontario, and Feed Ontario is able to then share that across the province. So produce that's grown here in the London area ends up as far down as Windsor and as far east as Cornwall and up as far north as Sudbury. So we really do have a great network of partners within the agencies to make sure that we're getting food to their clients as well. Yeah, as long as I've been here, like I mentioned, I started volunteering 24 years ago. The staff complement has always been small, and intentionally so, because we have such great support from the London community. People are always asking for ways to volunteer, how to help out. So we are very, very lucky that we have so many people that want to support our operations. The London Food Bank really is a community place. It's not. It's not. What's the word I'm looking for? It's not strictly run by staff. There are some food banks where perhaps that's a necessity, but we're lucky that we have the support of the community, the love of the community that keeps us going. And honestly, there are times when we say the staff are here for the volunteers to tell us what to do, because there are so many volunteers with such a great background, so much experience. And they come here and they say, well, how about this? Why don't we try this? And we go, yeah, we'll try it. We're always open to changing things. So usually if you're in an environment, and I'm not talking about food banks or nonprofits in particular, but any workplace where everyone is employed, that kind of feedback isn't always encouraged or accepted. But if you're a volunteer, you can maybe say things that are...
And you see the effect of your volunteering, like, oh, okay, I think that's the story.
Yeah, well, they see, here's my impact I'm making. How can I make it better? And that's really, it all comes from the heart. And yeah, it's a great place to be.
This is an excellent way to finish it. Like,
right. Well, I want to thank you, Louise, for inviting me to be your
you're so funny.
your subject today. And yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Have a good one.
Yeah, you